Hi, and welcome everyone to another edition of the FTW podcast. FTW is a weekly WWE and TNA discussion where fans talk the wrestling world and all of its laughable glory. This is episode 223, recorded live on July 15th, 2014 on FTWLive.com. Tonight we preview this Sunday's WWE Battleground. With us tonight is Nick. Say hello, Nick.
I'm getting too old for this shit.
Joe. Say hello, Joe.
Oh, my back. Oh. Old.
Dinosaur Lee. Say hello.
Yay! Dinosaur Lee's back, everybody. Look, it's Dinosaur Lee.
Hey! Hey!
Good to see you.
He was promised, and he has shown.
Good.
Yes.
My name is Garvin. I'll be moderating tonight's conversation. If you're listening live, make sure to say hi and leave your feedback in the comments. We'll bring in those comments as often as we can. And if you're watching live on YouTube, leave a like. Those are very nice. As you heard, tonight's conversation will be surrounding WWE Battleground. Are you looking forward to it? If so, what do you think will be the match of the night? We'll be talking about that a little bit later on. But definitely leave your thoughts in the live chat, and yeah, it'll be cool. So before we move on to Battleground, let's talk about some of the things that happened this week in WWE, specifically on Raw. Some little news and notes. First of all, as far as the big things that happened on Raw, Cesaro came down to the ring. No Paul Heyman. Many are speculating that they've basically severed the relationship quietly. Like, there's nothing necessarily acknowledging it other than commentary team talking about how, maybe Heyman quit or Heyman was fired, even though Heyman was involved in the backstage segment a little bit later on. So regardless, it doesn't look like Cesaro and Heyman are a thing anymore. And last time they removed the Heyman from one of his guys, both of them went into basically limbo, which is Rybaxel. So if this is accurate, if this is the case, do you think that Cesaro can survive without Heyman? Dinosaur Lee?
I'm not entirely sure. I know the popular answer to say, "Oh yeah, he's totally legit. He's got the moveset. He's exciting. He's dynamic in the ring." But the thing is, he just doesn't have that extra 20% to take him to the next level, and without a Heyman supplying that, I really don't see where he's going to get it. When you're coming into a group of people that have guys like Rollins, Ambrose, Roman Reigns. I mean, these guys made a big splash when they first showed up. Rusev and Wyatt. WWE really just doesn't have, I don't want to say the time, but they have no need to let a guy kind of slow simmer to come to a boil. If you don't come in and make a splash immediately, what's the point of hanging around? And Cesaro, I'm afraid, I don't know, he's just not really doing that for me.
See, I'm thinking Cesaro, they could give him a good push. They're going to keep him in the mid-card. It's obvious about that. It's got the feud with Kofi and or Big E. There's that interaction they had on Raw, but I think he can elevate. He doesn't necessarily need Heyman. The Heyman thing isn't working out. Really, there's only been 2 Heyman guys that have worked out of the 4. So being Brock Lesnar and CM Punk. Who knows? Maybe Heyman's touch on an option C could be a CM Punk return. I'll be that guy. It could be. WWE's pushing in a lot of CM Punk content all of a sudden. So there you go. But no, going back to Cesaro, who could also be an option C. Cesaro. It's an option. But Cesaro does have the skills to elevate to a higher picture, or to the higher level. He's got the talent. He does have the mic skills. They just don't let him use it. When he was doing the 5 languages thing, at least for me, he was way over. that was a good way to get heat, and he could insult you in 5 languages. I mean, how badass is that? So I don't think he's going to burn out. I don't think he's going Rybaxel. He's not going to make Rybaxel like 3MB. Yeah. Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. Cesaro's not going to fall quite as far as Rybaxel. For one, he's more talented than the both of them, I'd say, put together. And like you said, he does have some mic skills to back up his moveset. He's obviously no CM Punk, but I mean, you don't have to be in order to get to the top of the card, just like a Randy Orton. As far as the Heyman guy track record goes, yeah, 2 out of the 4 made it, 2 out of the 4 didn't. But Punk obviously got in there on the strength of his mic skills. Lesnar got in just because he's a monster. Cesaro, I think, could be kind of the balance between the two. He's not the most gifted worker on the mic, and he's not an inhuman monster, but he's a nice mix of the two. And I don't think he necessarily needs Heyman in order to get himself over that way. So if this is the case, if Heyman is no longer with Cesaro, I don't think he's going to sink into obscurity. I think he's got enough going for him that at worst he can be an upper mid-card guy.
Yeah, I'm with you, Nick. Overall, Cesaro doesn't need Heyman to get over because they weren't together the first 75% of his career in WWE, and he got over basically every single opportunity he had. So I think overall, this is probably nothing more than trying to just create some kind of separation so that when Lesnar comes back, which is what we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, when Lesnar comes back for that SummerSlam push and that match, it just makes more sense. There's only one thing that Heyman has to concentrate on. It doesn't have to be both guys, and that doesn't mean that they're splitting up these two guys. It just means that Cesaro can go out and do his own thing without needing to be valeted down to the ring every time. I mean, that's how it seems to me. Some things being talked about in the live chat is exactly that. The idea that all this is a temporary split to allow Heyman to focus on Brock Lesnar. And if we look at the segment that Heyman had with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon in the back, that's really what it seemed like it was going to be, which was him going up to them and saying that he has that option C. Option C being Brock Lesnar, because Brock Lesnar versus John Cena is the match. That's your SummerSlam match. We could theoretically have CM Punk. I mean, that is being joked around about, and but it is possible. Punk's contract expires on the 17th, so in 2 days. So theoretically, it is possible that they might re-sign Punk. There's always that possibility, but okay. I think it's not gonna
happen. Okay. I know Dinosaur Lee can't roll his eyes, but he's rolling his eyes. Maybe I should get another image of Dinosaur Lee rolling his eyes. Here, can I do this? Rolling eyes. Well, that's all you get. No, Punk's not coming back. Come on. Here's the thing, though, guys. Here's the thing. We're all making excuses on why it's possible for Cesaro to survive or to at least get by, but we're not talking about it like fantastic or Cesaro's totally going to get over. It's not like we're talking about it like we talk about like Daniel Bryan or when the Shield came on the scene after like 3 weeks with them and the rumor, or when the Shield had been around for a couple months and we were like, well, we talk about breaking them apart and we were like, that would be fantastic. These guys are all amazing. I'm not hearing a lot of that argument coming from anybody. A lot of it's like, well, Cesaro's not the best, but he could do this and he could do that. And so for that reason, when you have such a packed card like we have now, and with the thing with NXT having some amazing talent going on right now, are you really telling me that Cesaro is going to be in a situation where he can tread water for a while?
No. I think it's I mean, at least for me, I'm not fearful that Cesaro can't can survive. I'm looking at this as, I'm not looking at this seriously. Because A, I don't think Heyman really dropped him, and B, even if he did, Cesaro can get over. It's just, but I am fearful of how WWE will move forward if this is the case. We saw them fail pretty hard with the whole yodeling bull crap. I don't want them to see them go down a similar road with Cesaro. I don't know why they would, but there's always that possibility too.
Yeah, and there's the fact that the WWE. Well, let me say I am a little bit fearful that the WWE won't allow Cesaro to get himself over if he is in fact broken up with Heyman, because they don't have the best track record with guys like that, with guys that are amazing in the ring as far as their movesets go, but they're not exactly the best talkers. Or, I mean, just look at Ziggler. I mean, he is a better talker than Cesaro is, but he's not getting any higher than upper mid card. Look at Kofi. I mean, he's basically in the exact same boat as Cesaro. He's not the best talker, but he does have some skill on the mic, and he's an amazing worker. They're not letting him get any higher. The WWE is filled with guys with cases exactly like that. So Cesaro does have the tools needed to succeed. It just remains to be seen whether he can make himself stand out in front of WWE management.
Do you think he can?
Like I said, he's got the tools to do so. It just remains to be seen whether the WWE will let him, as opposed to pushing somebody else like Roman Reigns.
Valid point, Nick.
Yeah, and just real quick, Diva Joe in the live chat is also pointing out, what has Heyman really done for Cesaro? I mean, we were all excited about the partnership that Cesaro and Heyman were together. That's going to mean big things for Cesaro, and it really hasn't. It really hasn't been much, because mostly what Paul Heyman talks about is Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, Heyman hasn't actively done anything to help Cesaro. It's everything he's done for Cesaro with this pairing has been passive. Just the attention that Heyman draws by himself. It inevitably is drawn towards Cesaro because he's right next to the man. So, yeah, to DJ's point, he hasn't helped Cesaro a lot, but the help he has offered just by his mere presence has done a lot to get Cesaro noticed.
Okay. Also on Raw, we saw a little bit of a winning streak continue. Bo Dallas is now 15-0 in singles competition. Now, just hear me out, guys. What if this streak never ends? What if this streak, I mean, could it be bigger than both Goldberg's and Undertaker's combined?
I didn't know you were painting the room, because obviously the only reason you've been able to make these points is you're clearly huffing paint and high right now.
He doesn't need to huff paint to get high. So
other than Punk coming back, so let me get this straight, Garvin. Next WrestleMania is going to be Bo Dallas defending his 85-0 streak against, I'm assuming, a returning CM Punk.
Wait, you think Bo Dallas is only going to win 85 more matches? Or 75 more matches? Between now and WrestleMania? Come on.
I'm sorry. Okay, you're absolutely right. That was the most insane thing I said. No? I mean, no, he's going to lose?
Bo Dallas will eventually lose, but right now, the streak is money, man. Everybody needs a streak. There's got to be a streak going on in the company, and right now, this is the streak.
I can tell you what the streak is. It's in their pants, because they're shitting themselves because they're doing so. All right, that was reaching. I'll admit that one.
That is so far-reaching that, you're scratching your own back because you're reaching around the world.
Look, Dinosaur Lee does not bring his A game. All right, not for Bo Dallas.
Oh, come on. He totally believes in Bo Dallas.
Don't tell Dinosaur Lee what he believes and doesn't believe in.
The fact that he believes in
and
anything means he's a believer.
He is one half dinosaur, one half British, and one half Lee. And you're going to tell me what he believes in? It's a damn sure ain't math.
He definitely believes in giving 150%.
Hell yeah, he does.
So you might talk about this cynically, Dinosaur Lee, but look at the live chat. Live chat is all behind Bo Dallas. Diva Jill says she's with Bo Dallas. Come on. You guys seriously don't think Bo Dallas could keep winning forever? It's
Not forever.
Happen. It's gonna happen.
I think he's got more wins in him. I don't think he's going to lose till SummerSlam.
Yeah, I do like the way the character is evolving, the way Bo is becoming more and more of the little kid. It's endearing, and that's about all I'll say about Bo Dallas. I cannot take this topic seriously.
Well, whatever. Well, it's not just me. It's not just a live chat. The crowd was also behind Bo, even chanting Bo's ring against Bray Wyatt. Okay, no, let's move on from that. No, seriously, the crowd.
Hey,
the crowd was.
Blue said, man. To go off what Blue said, Germany believed. Look what happened to them.
That's true. It's true.
Brazil didn't believe. See what happened?
They didn't. Argentina did not believe. But no, seriously, the crowd was chanting boring to Bray Wyatt. Do you agree? Is Bray Wyatt somehow lost his edge?
No, I just think that the crowd there last night was a bigger Y2J crowd than the Wyatts.
I think the problem is, Joe, I think you're right, and I think the reason why that is because they had Y2J in the ring interrupted by a video vignette from the heel. And I think if you flipped that, it would have been more successful.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I think if you had the face interrupt the heel with a video package, it would have worked out better. But I think it was just, I don't know. I think it was a mistake.
Well, it's not like they didn't get Bray. Bray still made an appearance.
Well,
it was all to draw Y2J and get the lackeys involved.
Yeah, and I'm not entirely convinced that the Virginia crowd thought Bray was actually boring. I just think that that's the only chant they knew to use in order to deride the performance, because it is Virginia.
It is just odd, though. I mean,
it's no South Carolina, but
yeah.
Let's be honest here.
It's just odd, though. You know, Bray Wyatt has been like on just this solid run for a long time. It just seems like every single opponent he goes up against, the crowd is totally behind him, regardless of who it is, and just waiting by bated breath or singing. He's got the whole world in his hands song. We got none of that. We're not getting that with this Jericho feud, and it's really odd how that's kind of turned around on Bray Wyatt. I'm wondering, is that going to continue after this feud, or is this just a one-time thing because it's Jericho and this is Jericho's return and everyone is just into that right now?
I think it's going to be a very temporary thing. We're still in the honeymoon period with Jericho's return. He hasn't gotten to the point where he's overstayed his welcome yet. And so while we're still in this honeymoon period, Bray Wyatt's he's not going to suffer, but he is going to receive less of the crowd reaction he's gotten accustomed to. Once this feud goes on for a month or two, I expect that we'll start hearing the Wyatt chants, and everybody will get back to being Bray washed, and Jericho will be booed just like Cena was booed.
All right, let's go ahead and move away from topics from Raw. There's a few more that we might talk about a little bit later on. But right now, let's jump into the Battleground card. This is our WWE Battleground pay-per-view pre-show. So we're going to run down the card. We're going to talk about some of our initial reactions and then we're going to go into each match and talk about it, predict, all that kind of stuff. So, first of all, the card, we've got Naomi versus Cameron in the kickoff match. We also have Jack Swagger versus Rusev.
Woo!
Ambrose versus Rollins. Jericho versus Bray Wyatt. The Divas Championship will be on the line. AJ Lee versus Paige. Tag Team Championships on the line. Usos versus Wyatt family. The Intercontinental Championship will be on the line in a Battle Royal. And then in the main event, John Cena defends the World Heavyweight Championship against Orton, Kane, and Roman Reigns. So that's the card. Overall, whether we're talking about our listeners and friends over on G+, or on Facebook, or even on Twitter, it seems like a lot of people are pretty sour on this. Just to call out a few names, Deuce on Facebook, he said this looks a lot like the last pay-per-view. Steven on Facebook said that he thinks this is a filler pay-per-view. That seems to be the common theme overall. Do you guys share that sentiment? Do you think this is just a filler pay-per-view, that this is too much of the same thing, that you're not looking forward to Battleground? Joe?
Yeah, initially, I'm going to say yes. But, it's completely filler to me, and I'm looking at it going, this is bland. They got to do something to really spice it up. But if I look at the previous year and all the big pay-per-views, all the pay-per-views that were, the cornerstones, most of them fell flat. And it was the filler pay-per-views that really shine. That really made me go, damn it, I didn't pay for this one because it looked like it was going to suck, and it was probably one of the better pay-per-views. Like, the ending was awesome, or this happened, and it was great. I haven't got that from a lot of the big-name pay-per-views lately.
Harrison, what do you think?
I think Battleground's one of those pay-per-views that sneaks up on WWE Creative. Like, they just don't have it saved on their Google Calendar, and it just shows up out of nowhere, and they're like, shit, we gotta come up with something real quick for this one, guys. Yeah, a lot of this stuff is holdover, but at the same time, some of these feuds are actually pretty solid. AJ Lee and Paige, I'm excited about that one. Jack Swagger and Rusev, that segment on Raw, that détente, that was actually pretty fun. I think Jack Swagger and Rusev are both going to come out really good out of this pay-per-view, which could make for a pretty even better feud going into SummerSlam's next, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So going into SummerSlam, if this keeps going, I think it could be pretty good. The thing about Battleground is when you look at all these feuds, there's no reason for a lot of these feuds to actually end. It just means that a lot of these could probably just have the heat turned up on them a whole lot more. Maybe Jericho and Wyatt could possibly end. I don't like the idea of Jericho facing Wyatt. I think there's more opportunity there for both of them. But looking at these feuds, with the exception of maybe Ambrose and Rollins, this pay-per-view could really amplify these things going into SummerSlam. And if that's what Battleground's purpose is, to be like the elimination chamber of the summer pay-per-view card, then that's fine for me. It just makes the next pay-per-view more exciting, and the next subsequent 3 or 4 Raws more exciting.
Yeah, Battleground itself is basically a filler pay-per-view. We don't really need the pay-per-view itself, but since we do have it, the card is pretty solid. It is almost a copy of last month's pay-per-view, but even so, like you said, Harrison, these feuds are going to extend no matter what. So it's only natural that we're seeing them again this time around.
Yeah.
Maybe there could be a couple different variations made with gimmick matches or what have you, but aside from that, I don't think you can really complain about the card itself. It's a very solid card, and the feuds are solid themselves, like Jack Swagger and Rusev, Ambrose and Rollins, AJ versus Paige. Usos versus Wyatt has been especially good. And there are also going to be feuds playing out in the Battle Royal itself, like with Cesaro and Kofi. There's going to be a few of those. So overall, I think this is going to be a pretty good show.
Yeah, you know what, I don't share the overall discontent with this. Just a quick note. I mean, only 2 of these matches can be considered quote unquote rematches or replays of the last pay-per-view, Money in the Bank. I mean, which is Usos versus Wyatt family, and then the main event. The main event, if you remove Sheamus, ADR, and Cesaro out of the mix. But otherwise, I mean, we've got 7 matches that aren't really rematches at all. 3 of those continuing are continuing stories and feuds from either Money in the Bank or before. So this is a new pay-per-view. This is either stuff that started after Money in the Bank or at Money in the Bank. But I mean, they're not Money in the Bank matches for sure. But yeah, just looking at the card, I'm excited for quite a bit of it. I think there really isn't that bad of a match at all, except for the kickoff. That's the only match that I have an issue with, and maybe the World Heavyweight Championship match. I think the main event I'm not necessarily into. But everything else.
I'm into the main event for the to see what they're actually going to do with Reigns. He's the only one I think I'd be excited about the World Heavyweight picture. If he wins, then I'm excited. Because could you guys imagine Roman Reigns versus like Brock Lesnar? That would be cool to see. That would be different. Because we don't want to see Kane, we don't want to see Orton, we sure as hell don't want to see Cena. At least most of us don't. I think Reigns would be awesome. I don't know if it's his time, but I love the idea they're going to do a battle royal for the Intercontinental Championship. That's cool. Tag Team Championship match. That's cool. Bray Wyatt gets to be in a match. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I'm in agreement with you, Joe. There's a lot here to be excited about. But let's talk about each match. We'll talk about each match, give our predictions, and overall thoughts on the build so far. So we'll start off with the kickoff. Yeah. We'll start off with the kickoff match. Naomi versus Cameron. This is something that's been building for a while. Suffice it to say, it has not been because of things that happened on Total Divas. I'm not sure where that rumor started. But no, this is actually an okay feud. It just, for me, I'm not necessarily interested in seeing Cameron continue. But let's just go ahead and get your guys' thoughts on the build and overall predictions. Joe?
I'm going to start off saying I'm predicting Naomi. I still don't know which one's which, so I went with what may be the consensus.
The blonde and bad one is Cameron.
Okay. I don't know why I have a hard time telling them apart. Like, or not telling them apart, but the names. Like, it's just they both look like a Naomi and they both look like a Cameron to me. They could go either way. But don't worry, Garvin, you are always going to be a Garvin to me. It seems very forced. Like, the breakup, it's time. It's time for them to part ways, and I don't have a problem with them having a feud to break these two apart. It's just for me, there hasn't been a ton of build-up for it. It's just been, okay, well, now you're pissed. Now you're grumpy. Now you're going to be the grumpy diva. And go. It doesn't work.
Nick?
There is a little bit of character build-up that you'll see on Total Divas, and that's Cameron can get exceedingly bitchy, like 0 to 60 in 2 seconds. And I think they're relying on some of that as far as justification for Cameron turning on Naomi. So that's probably why you haven't seen a whole lot of build-up since Money in the Bank. With that said, yeah, I'm absolutely predicting a win by Naomi because the feud is needed in order to break them up, but we don't need this to drag out. It just needs to be Naomi winning, putting away Cameron, and moving on to something else. Preferably a bid for the Divas title.
Cool.
Dinosaur Lee, what about you? What do you think?
Naomi needs to move on. Cameron's dragging her back in this thing. I know this feud's been going on for a while, and it's just one of those things that, especially with Paige and especially with Paige and AJ Lee basically going to start sucking the oxygen out of the Divas division, Naomi's got to move on. She's got to make her mark. She's not going to do it with Cameron there. I'm picking Naomi to win this, and she's going to make a big splash with this match. She needs to show that she is, which she is. She does have some talent. She needs to show that she is better than a lot of the feuds that she's been having lately.
Okay, I'm also going to go with Naomi. The build has been okay. I think the overall story they're telling has been great. Not a fan of Cameron. Not into anything that she has done thus far. Yeah, Naomi all the way. I definitely want to see her running for the Divas Championship. So hopefully that's the direction they go. They don't continue this on the SummerSlam, but my guess is we will see this rematch in some capacity at SummerSlam. So, but I'm definitely going to go with Naomi. Let's move on to something a little bit better. I'm sorry, not a little bit better, a lot better. Jack Swagger versus Rusev. This is a match that was just booked this week, but something we were hoping was going to happen. This is the direction we really wanted them to go for a while. It's finally happening. What's your thoughts on this build and your predictions, Dinosaur Lee?
The build's been awesome. The feud's been awesome. It's the craziest thing to me is this has taken Jack Swagger and Zeb Coulter and turned them from heels to faces without any changes to their characters. They're still doing the same thing. They're just not harping on immigrants as much. They're still harping on immigrants because Rusev, well, I guess he's not really an immigrant, but he is a foreigner, and they're still harping on foreigners. They're the same characters, but now they're faces instead of heels, which is just, I think it's one of the testaments to how good this feud is. I want to see this go on for a lot longer. These two are just now starting to get into a good stride. So I'm really excited by the build. I think it's been awesome, especially on Raw. It was fantastic. You know, just that kind of like contract signing detente thing, you wouldn't expect much from it, but the crowd got so into it. As far as who's going to win, I don't know. Either one can work. Rusev's been on a tear, so getting a win over Swagger might be a little overkill. But if Swagger got a win over Rusev, I don't think it would hurt him all that much. This one, to me, is a complete toss-up. I'm honestly not sure which way to go. I'm guessing I should take Swagger, because usually if the heel wins, they usually just move on like they did with Bray Wyatt. So I guess I'll take Swagger for this match. But for me, it's a toss-up, and it should be a fantastic match.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed the build since Swagger stepped up to face down Rusev. It's amazing how much pop Swagger can get when you utilize his gimmick that he's had for ages and stack that on top of America. Fuck yeah. It's the pop he was getting, that he has been getting for the past few weeks, it's thunderous. It's no matter whether you're down south, up north, out west, it doesn't matter. People pop for that. And Rusev has done a good job, and Lana as well, of just antagonizing the hell out of everybody. I'm not necessarily a big fan of Lana when she starts yelling at the crowd to shut up, because a Russian shouldn't be using American idioms like that when she has such a thick Russian accent. And it just doesn't mesh for me. But
I can't believe how racist you are.
Yeah, that's not racism.
Use those words.
That's not racism. That's reality.
They can't use those words.
Those are our words.
Yeah. Damn
America.
We beat you in the Cold War.
How come we can't use that N-word?
That's racism.
I'm gonna say it. Nick.
Racist.
See, there you go.
Yeah, aside from that minor quibble, I think the build has been handled very, very well. And I did especially like the touch this past week of no matter how scathing Zeb got in his address to Lana, when Lana slapped the hell out of him, he didn't retaliate, and I think that's very much in line with his character of older Southern man. Obviously, he's raised not to strike a woman, and the fact that they're sticking with their characters for the most part so well, I really enjoy that. With with this match, I think Swagger's going to get a DQ win. I think that's the best way to prolong the feud. Uh, Rusev still goes over, but the good guy still gets the win. And it doesn't even necessarily have to end with Rusev just beating the holy shit out of Swagger and leaving him lying in a pile in the ring. It's just Rusev breaks the rules and Swagger can make the comeback. And it could go a lot of ways and still make everybody look good.
It could. I like your idea of it being a DQ, but I think it's going to be. Yeah, I think you're right. It's a DQ win for Swagger if they're going to DQ it so that they can elongate it. You're right on Swagger. I mean, he's been getting huge pops. People, even when he was getting booed, people were still behind the "We the People" chant. And you guys are right. Nothing has changed character-wise. They're just not pushing the "let's kick these immigrants out" angle. Although I am appreciating it. The fact that Swagger's actually getting to do something. He's actually in a feud, and they might actually let him eventually win this. I dig that. Swagger needs a win. Swagger is a great worker. I think one of the only reasons he didn't make it earlier on, and even though he did win the ECW Championship and the World Heavyweight Championship, the thing that held him back was his speaking voice, the lisp. And that's just cruel. I mean, that's un-American to pick on him for that. So I'm glad that America's behind him now, and he can go on and he can beat the Russian, because we need to ignite the '80s again. And the thing that drove me crazy about the segment that was on Raw was just Lana. America is stupid. You are all stupid. You are stupid. Yeah. Wow, we're 4 years old. Yay!
She has done so good. She has done so good at telling that story. But yeah, I agree. This week it was.
No, you're stupid. No, you're stupid. No, you're stupid. No, it's just
the one line that she did really tumble a lot in my eyes when she said the line, "American, shut up! I'm talking to this American." It was something like that, and it was just like the kludgiest thing in the world.
Yeah, she's had great moments, but that entire segment dragged her down. It really hurt. Although I did like the sign in the crowd that said Putin 316.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I did start laughing at that one.
All right, so real quick, Nick, Joe, and Dinosaur Lee, you're all going with Jack Swagger to win, but cleanly or not cleanly, just to verify.
Doesn't matter. A win's a win. At least for points.
Okay.
The only time a win doesn't exactly matter is if it's a championship. In our rankings. It's who walks out with the championship. Outside of that, a win is a win.
Sure. I guess why I'm asking is because I don't know if I'm ready to see Rusev lose, especially like on a big stage like a pay-per-view. It just feels like we need to see Rusev continue to win and continue to show his dominance. Otherwise, the character doesn't quite make sense yet.
Well, he can do that if he brings in a chair or puts Swagger through a table, and he's standing over Swagger at the end of it.
I mean, I think it's going to be a DQ. Well, I'll just go on record and say that. I mean, despite my arguing, I think it's I think it's going to be a DQ win, so they can finish the off at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go with Rusev, and we forgot to talk about Scott's picks, but Scott is also going to go with Rusev. So, yeah, for me, I just think it's too soon for Rusev to lose. I do see this extending to SummerSlam, but I think that Jack Swagger can lose and still be okay. But yeah, I think SummerSlam should be the big payoff for that. All right, let's move on to Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins. Who you got, Joe?
I'm going with Rollins on this one because I don't think, if anything, if this thing is going to boil over anytime soon with an Ambrose win, it's going to have to be for the case. To give it some finality to it. I think that would be the only case in which it would be final. But Rollins needs the strength to cement himself as part of. Rollins needs to win to cement himself as a viable member of the Authority. Not that he's not, but he needs to show that he's a bigger. He needs wins right now to make sure that he's a formidable force. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. But do you think that he needs to win on his own accord, or can he win with the help of someone in the Authority, say Kane or anyone else?
Well, he's already done that. I mean, he's already got wins like that. I think this is probably where it's going to come out, where he does win on his own. I mean, I'm not going to say that there's going to be some hijinks, but I don't think Kane's going to be attacking or Orton's going to be. Definitely don't think Orton's going to be attacking. They've got too much to do with the championship later that night.
Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Joe there. This has to be Rollins' standout moment where he could show he can get a win by himself, and that the decision Triple H made to bring him into the Authority was a good one. Where this puts Ambrose, I'm not terribly sure. Ambrose can take a lot of abuse. He can take some losses and still be okay because he is fighting the Authority, and he's painting himself in the way that he's not quite like Cena with the hustle, loyalty, respect, never give up thing, but he is showing himself to be resilient, persistent. He's showing that focus, that mad dog focus on that single goal, and I think that resonates with the crowd. I'm just not sure at what point that starts to wear thin with the audience before Ambrose has to start changing things up and start getting some wins here. But here at Battleground, I think Ambrose can take a loss and put Rollins over as his own man within the Authority.
Dinosaur Lee, jump in here. What's your thoughts here?
I'm with Nick on this one, but if Ambrose has to lose, I'm thinking Ambrose is going to lose, and he's going to lose huge. I think he has to be smashed into the ground and basically converted into a fine paste. And I think that's how I think if Rollins destroys Ambrose through sheer brutality, and in the end maybe actually resorting to not necessarily cheating or through a ref bump or something, kind of gets a fishy ending and ends up just beating Ambrose into like an unconscious mess, that makes sense. And I think if Ambrose played that up with like wild abandon, basically what I think would work is at the beginning of Raw when Ambrose got smashed into the concrete, which by the way, sells getting thrown into a concrete wall like nobody's business. If they pull something like that out and Ambrose is like, is that all you got? And then just Rollins just beats the tar out of him. I think that could help Ambrose play that kind of like crazy, I got nothing left to lose kind of character, and could really help Rollins cement his heel status and make for a solid run with that case.
Yeah, overall, I'm with you guys at least on these picks, and I think just about everyone is, especially in the live chat. Rollins wins. It seems like the right move. Sure, we would love to see Ambrose get one over, but Battleground doesn't necessarily seem like the spot to do it. SummerSlam would. You know, going back to the initial reaction to this card, how many people see this as a filler pay-per-view. Technically, it is because it's the pay-per-view right before SummerSlam. So, you know, an Ambrose versus Rollins match, yeah, I think it's going to be a great match, possibly match of the night. But what happens at this match, I don't want to end the feud. I want to see this feud continue, and I think the better story is to have Rollins win and Ambrose get his ultimate revenge at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. Next up, we got Jericho versus Bray Wyatt. We talked a little bit about this before the pay-per-view, and it seems like the crowd, generally speaking, is behind Jericho. Are you guys behind Jericho? Do you think that he will win this match? We're going to start with you, Dinosaur Lee.
Yeah, I think he's going to win by DQ. I think Bray Wyatt's going to take him out by DQ because I can't go into this thinking Jericho's going to come back. 3 weeks later, he loses. At the same time, I can't think he comes back and three weeks later defeats Bray Wyatt, who is coming off of a loss. So for me, the only way I can think of that both these characters come out with something is that, because even though Jericho isn't going to be around for a while, or isn't going to be around forever, he's still going to be around until probably October, I'd imagine. He's probably going to be around for at least a few months. So that's where I'm landing on this one. I think Jericho wins, but it's by DQ. I think the Wyatt family's going to get involved in some capacity.
Joe?
I think Bray's going to win this one. Maybe there's going to be some hijinks, some distraction. I think that Bray needs some wins. Bray needs some solid wins, and if he does it cleanly, even better. I like the idea of Jericho coming back to put guys like him over. Jericho's gone on record saying there are guys he comes in and says, I want to work with this guy, I want to work with this guy, I want to work with this guy.
Yeah.
And generally it works for him. You know, he can work with people, and then or they stick him with Fandango, and we saw what happened there. I'm really hoping that Bray, I think he's said that, like, he wanted to work with Cesaro, he wanted to work with Bray, and if this is a part of that, that's awesome, because I think that if this goes any type of distance, this can be a great feud, especially if Jericho can re-embrace a lot of the fire that he had. God, I can't believe I'm going to say this, in the Attitude Era. One of the not the most recent, when the debut of the lighted jacket run, but anything before that, when he just was on fire on the mic all the time. I think if he re-embraces some of that, this could be electric.
Lighted jacket, electric. I see what you did there.
Hey-o.
Yeah, my opinion might be a little bit colored by the fact that I resent the hell out of Jericho derailing the return of Heel Miz. That could have been so much better than it was. But I think Jericho's going to lose clean to Bray here. Like you said, Jericho is here to put other guys over. He's in the role that RVD is supposedly in, but we all know he's not in that role at all. Jericho can afford to lose, especially since they are billing him as legend. The legend doesn't necessarily need to go over, despite the WWE's fascination or infatuation with putting those legends over. Bray Wyatt definitely needs wins. He needs clean wins. And interference from Harper and Rowan can only go so far, especially if you're building them as serious tag team champions. You can't subjugate the tag team champions to another guy outside of a title race forever. Those two need their own time to stand on their own. So Bray is going to have to do some heavy lifting by himself here. And I think one of the first steps to doing that is a clean win over Jericho.
I'm with you, Nick, as far as Bray needing to do some heavy lifting by himself. But again, is Battleground the correct setting for that, or would a better setting for that be SummerSlam?
SummerSlam would be the bigger stage for that. However, I don't know about the face getting a clean win right off the bat, because if he beats the monster right away, where's the incentive for him to continue the fight? Like, there's plenty of incentive for Bray to come back after him, but why would Jericho be interested?
No, that's true.
Don't look at me. I'm with Nick on this one.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point, and this is Bray starting the fight. Like, Bray picked the fight with Jericho. It wasn't Jericho going after Bray. So, yeah, I'm with you. If Jericho wins, then yeah, why would he want to face Bray again? That is an interesting thought. But I am going to go with a Jericho win. It's not going to be a clean win. Most likely it's going to be in some kind of DQ or something. I don't see the Wyatt family getting involved just because they got the tag team match. But yeah, I do see I do see this ending in a DQ or a count out or something like that. But I'm going to go with Harrison. Or I'm going to go with Harrison and choose Jericho. Okay, Divas Championship on the line. AJ Lee versus Paige in the rubber match. This is going to be an excellent match.
This is going to be a sexy match.
Out of most of the card, I think this is one of the matches I'm looking forward to the most. Joe, talk to us about this build, because it hasn't really been the best.
No, it hasn't. Although they're trying, if we go all the way back, not Cameron. What the fuck? Paige beat AJ Lee very abruptly, and Paige went on. We didn't see AJ Lee for a while, and Paige just took over the Divas division, ran through everybody. Awesome. Then all of a sudden, AJ comes back, and right away, in a similar fashion to when she lost the title, beat Paige for the title. And then all of a sudden, they're best friends. They're besties. Or what was the phrase that was used last night?
Frenemies.
Frenemies, right. Right. They're friends, but they're going to have to fight. This isn't like Hogan Warrior. They haven't had enough time to build, I think, the frenemies angle. I think they needed more time. They should have started earlier or something, or I don't know. It doesn't seem to have much in the way of legs.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense if you look at how Paige came into WWE as far as the main roster. It did look like they had, the mutual respect, or at least Paige was looking up to AJ. So I kind of see it, but I'm with you. It was very, very awkward that was the direction it went. But Nick, what's your thoughts on this? Do you think it's as awkward as we think?
I see what you're saying about not enough time devoted to the build, but that's just a result of the shortened time between Money in the Bank and Battleground. I think there's only been 3 weeks of build as opposed to the usual 4 or 5. I do think that the angle plays well, though, given the fact that we regard AJ and Paige as two of the best divas, not just right now, but in years. And the fact that they're both acknowledging the other's skill, the other's worthiness to be champion, I think it's a natural angle, and I think it's going to lead into the match being conducted as two women with the highest respect for each other, just duking it out to determine who's the best in the world, if you will. I think it's going to be Paige that pulls out the win here, and that might lead to observations of hot potatoing, but I think it's okay when you have two opponents of the caliber that AJ and Paige are. And it's not like they have a ton of other competition in the division anyway. We do have Naomi, who's going to be getting to the picture, hopefully soon. And you could always bring Natalya up from what she's doing in NXT and give her a program for a little while. But outside of those two, there's not really anybody on their level. So if we're going to be having those two duking it out for the foreseeable future, I think it's okay for the definition of who is the best to change on a regular basis, so that it's never really established who actually is the best. You have two up at the top, and that also legitimizes Paige as a serious contender.
Yeah, I'm with you, Nick. I overall, we always show that we dislike when they hot potato titles. We like to see longer reigns, but if this means that a loss for AJ would mean that we would get Paige versus AJ at SummerSlam, or moving into the fall, I think that's fantastic, and I don't care. That's perfectly fine. While the build was kind of awkward, like Joe was saying, like I had said before, I'm glad that they are going in the direction that they're going, as far as that they both have respect for each other. They both want the title. They're both going to fight for the title, and that's great. I think everything has been great. Sure, it would have been nice to have a little bit more time. I wish AJ didn't take the time off when she did, but we have what we have now, and this is what we've wanted since Paige debuted. So I'm totally into this. My pick is going to go with Paige for that very reason. That I think a win for Paige would mean a rematch at SummerSlam, and this to continue into the fall. Dinosaur Lee, where do you stand on this?
I don't care as long as we get more. I mean, AJ can win, Paige can win, the belt could catch on fire, and then now their next match is the assembly of a new belt. I really don't care. Whatever gets these two in a feud, in a ring, near a ring, around a ring, in an arena, is just good for everybody involved. If I have to pick, and it's so, like, out of everything on this card, this is the one match where I really have no idea which way to go. But the only reason I'm picking Paige is because... Okay, the only reason I'm picking no contest is because Joe just added it to the doc, and I really like that better than Paige. The only reason I would pick Paige is because I was thinking this frenemy thing that they got going on right now, someone's got to be the first one to turn, and I think that would be Paige over AJ. I think AJ would, they just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and Paige would be the first one to really put the hammer down. And for that reason, I think Paige would win, but I don't know. Yeah, Joe, I'm with you. I'm going with no contest.
Joe,
okay.
Yeah,
so I added the no contest to the doc because considering that these are two of the best Divas we've seen in a long time, two of the most versatile, they can do a lot. They don't seem to have any fear. It's been a long time since we saw that Divas tables match. I'm hoping that at SummerSlam we get a ladder match. We get a Divas ladder match with these two. That's my goal. I think that would be badass.
That would be good.
So that's why I'm voting the way I am.
Dinosaur Lee, a comment you made about maybe leading to a new belt gave me the idea. There's probably no chance in hell of this ever happening again, but what if the feud between Paige and AJ led to the reintroduction of the women's title and the scrapping of the Divas title?
Nope. Because it's not going to be total women's.
It still wouldn't matter.
It's still gonna be total. It's gonna be Divas because it's total Divas. It's not no.
No, they WWE has gone whole hog with the Divas name, that phrase. They're not backing down from it. The women's title is what it was.
Yeah, we're done.
Because really, outside of these two people, who deserves the women's title?
Well, I mean, even when the women's title was in full effect, I mean, they were still called Divas back then. They were called Divas a long time before the Divas title was actually introduced.
But even when they were calling them Divas back then, they still had women who could wrestle. And they don't have the breadth in that division currently to really qualify. I would love for the women's title to come back. Don't get me wrong, Nick. I just think that they're going with their branded name. And
Sure.
they're going to go with that, and it's going to be that stupid butterfly title for ages.
Yeah, and like I said, I know there's no chance in hell of this happening, but I just thought the intellectual exercise was interesting.
Yeah, and real quick, let me just point out that, yeah, Joe, you are correct. Outside of maybe Alicia Fox, and that's a stretch. I don't really look at anyone else on the roster as being a wrestler. But look at NXT. You got Charlotte. You got Emma in some capacity if they actually use her properly on Raw. You've got the entire NXT women's roster. Those are all wrestlers, and they do very well, and I think they could do the same thing up here on Raw. So if they were going to do that, if they were going to make that change, AJ versus Paige would be a great catalyst for it, especially looking at the future roster.
Yeah, and look at the women's title done in NXT. It is the NXT women's title.
Right.
That's because they don't have a show called NXT Divas.
It was odd that they did that too, by the way. Just to continue on that on that train of thought. Like, why would they name that the women's championship in NXT? No, it just seems weird.
Because they're bringing back the women's title. Yay!
Yay! All right.
To differentiate it from the Divas title that's on the main show. So there's no confusion.
Maybe.
Smoke.
Go ahead.
No, I said smoke. I squashed any argument. I decreed it.
All right, cool.
Second
Well,
track.
let's move on to the tag team championships. We've got the Usos once again facing off against the Wyatt family. Is this finally the time, the perfect storm where the Wyatt family will walk out of the pay-per-view holding the tag team championships? Joe?
Yes. After the good showing that we had in the last match, that these guys had, I definitely think the Wyatts have the Usos number at this point. They had some slip-ups that cost them the match the last time. This is going to be their time, especially because we're going to need a title change. Something to kind of shock the fans here. And I think this is going to be the one. This is going to be the one where the heel gets the title.
Yeah, this has to be the time that the Wyatts win. They've been going at the titles for months now with no build in why they're losing. There's been no escalation. It's just been Usos versus Wyatts week in and week out. And that's not to say that's entirely a bad thing, because the matches we've been getting have been phenomenal. But there needs to be some advancement here. And I'm kind of torn, because having the Wyatts take the belts at SummerSlam would make for bigger impact than having them take them here. But on the other hand, I don't want to see this angle stagnate, because I'm sure they've got plenty of great matches left in them, but with those two teams going at it again and again and again, there's got to be some stagnation. going on, and I'm ready for other teams to re-enter the mix, like a Ryback Soul, like the Dust Brothers, whatever other team you care to mention. Even if it's just for a week or a 1 month program, I want to see things I want to see them mix things up. So I'm hoping that the Wyatts take the tag titles here at Battleground.
Dinosaur Lee?
Yeah, it's as good a time as any. They have been chasing this for a while. The Usos are, man. I mean, but the Usos are still getting a great crowd reaction. Okay. Here's what I think. You give the title to the Wyatts only to make this feud better, and have the Usos chase it, get it back at SummerSlam, or maybe Wyatt family hold it a little bit longer. You don't end this feud. Mostly because I can't think of another tag team these guys would really go up against outside of these two that's really available and would have the same kind of presence, and it wouldn't feel like a step back. So I think these two teams kind of swirling around each other for a while works, and I think at this point, yeah, now is as good a time as any. Last pay-per-view was as good a time as any, but now is as good a time as any.
I'm with you guys. Wyatt family wins. We are all on board on that. I think it's time. Usos have done a good job. I think they have progressed as characters, as wrestlers, and I think there still is a good future with them. I really don't see a whole lot of competition in the tag team division, so I don't see this as being the end of the Usos run. I think Usos versus Wyatt family probably will come again at SummerSlam or after, depending on what they're going to do with Goldust and Stardust. But yeah, it is time for the Wyatt family to move forward. And actually, now that I said that, how awesome will that feud be? Wyatt family versus Goldust and Stardust to see who's the creepier.
That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome.
The creepierest?
Yeah.
You got there.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, we're all in agreement there. Intercontinental Championship is on the line, as we all know. Wade Barrett is injured. He'll still be at Battleground. He'll be handing the title to the new champion. There is quite a number of people in this battle royal. Some names are more likely than others. But let's talk about favorites. Who's the favorite in this list of 22 names? Actually, before we do that, let me read off these names: Adam Rose, Alberto Del Rio, Big E, Bo Dallas, Cesaro, Curtis Axel, Damian Sandow, Diego, Dolph Ziggler, Fandango, The Great Khali, Heath Slater, Kofi Kingston, The Miz, RVD, R-Truth, Ryback, Sheamus, Sin Cara, Titus O'Neil, Xavier Woods, and of course Zack Ryder, who found out over Twitter that he was involved in this match, by the way. Joe?
Well, I mean, it's the obvious choice, right? Alberto. No. I've got to go with Cesaro. Cesaro needs that breakout moment. Although Big E's standing strong. Damn it. You know what? Big E recently had the title and didn't do anything with it. Sheamus just had the U.S. title recently, so I'm not really going to go with him, even though...
Recently, you mean he's still holding the title?
There you go. I just... When Sheamus appears on my TV, I fast forward. I am so sick of Sheamus. I'm tired of it. I can't stand the guy right now.
Does he even come down with the title belt?
I don't know. I fast forward.
On Raw? I think so.
Like, ever.
I think he has.
I can't say one way or another. I'm with Joe. I don't really watch Sheamus. Although I will say Sheamus does have one thing going for him, and it looks like he is growing out his weird beard mustache thing that he's got going on. It's a little longer than normal.
The Doom stash.
The potato smasher. I'm gonna go with Cesaro. I think Cesaro's because we've been saying that he needs a win. He needs that he needs something to help propel him, to help separate him from just being the Paul Heyman kind of guy. He needs a win because he's had so many losses lately. I think this is the time.
All right, Harrison.
Big E Langston. I really think now's a good time to put a title on the guy, give him a solid run, and see what he can do. He's always gone above and beyond. And when I look at this list, I see a lot of people who have had a shot or have missed a shot or could go on to do something it could be doing something better than this. I'm going with Big E because I think that's the most solid pick out of here. The other one I think is a good pick is Miz, just because he just got back, but maybe it might be a little bit too early. But as far as somebody who I would really love to have the belt is Titus O'Neil. I still think that guy deserves to have a solid singles run because he was so great. I don't want to go on and on about Titus O'Neil anymore, but yeah, I'm taking Big E.
All right, so you're going to back Titus O'Neil, but heaven forbid I like Bo Dallas at all. Come on.
Well,
you can't really like him that much. I mean, we'll get to that in a minute when you go over your pick, but...
That's a really good point, Nick. Thank you.
Nick, go ahead.
I think Cesaro is going to pull out the win here. He seems like the most obvious choice as far as his status as a Heyman guy or ex-Heyman guy, depending on how that whole thing shakes out. And he could be the guy to actually make the IC belt legitimate again. We've talked a lot about past IC title holders doing that, and that never really panned out. It's just like when we asked if Cesaro had what it took to survive being left by himself. He definitely has the tools. It remains to be seen whether the booking and WWE management will go that way. But out of all these contenders, I think Cesaro has been built the strongest of late. Even though he's been losing matches, he's always looked dominant, especially when he destroyed Kofi after Kofi pulled out the win. I think he's got the best chance out of anybody here.
This is a good list of names. Well, okay, not the full list, but there are some good names in here. Live chat is talking about that too. Just names of guys that you would like to see move forward and get this shot. Big E is a good name. Bo Dallas, I think, is a good name, but I think it's too soon. Too soon
Really?
to put a title on Bo Dallas. And he doesn't need to win to continue his singles competition streak. Dolph Ziggler is a good name. Miz, I think, is going to be the dark horse. I think it's going to end up being Miz and Cesaro as the final two. But I'm with you guys. I'm going to go Cesaro. I think out of all of them, he would probably do the best with the title. It should be apparent to WWE by now what Cesaro can do and that they can depend on him to put on quality matches, to be over with the crowd, and it doesn't seem much of a risk. Dolph Ziggler is a name that I think we would all love to see back in that spotlight and back, holding a title, but it's still risky. So yeah, I'm gonna go Cesaro. I think Cesaro is the good pick. And if they do move forward with him no longer being with Heyman, I think this would be a great test to see how he does on his own for a little while, at least through SummerSlam. So I'm going to go with Cesaro. And should note that Scott is going to go with Sheamus. And so Sheamus is holding the U.S. title. If Sheamus wins, there was the rumor, and I think it just started because Sheamus tweeted that he was going to unify the U.S. and Intercontinental Championships.
Yeah, they were talking that up on commentary a little bit about how Edge was the last guy to do that, and Sheamus might be the next guy. I don't know how much of that is just them pulling random facts out of their ass, or if they actually are going to lean that way.
Did Edge hold both titles at once?
They said it. They said he did. I don't remember myself.
I mean, that seems. I mean, because they were never. I don't think they were ever. They never unified them.
No.
The same person carried them. May have carried them. Miz, I thought had. No, that was the WWE. Wait, the U.S. He had the U.S., the tag team, and something at the same time.
Hold on. The WCW United States Heavyweight Championship and the WWF Intercontinental Championship were unified at Survivor Series 2001 by Edge, if we want to believe Wikipedia. That's
one of you assholes in the chat went and hurried up and typed that into.
No, I did. That was me. That was all me.
No, to edit the entry.
Oh, they knew I was gonna go to Wikipedia.
Who doesn't go to Wikipedia? Seriously.
But yeah, it does look like that happened. They brought back the U.S. Championship as a SmackDown exclusive title in 2003. So yeah, so it could happen. I mean, they've already unified one title. Why not? Or two titles. Why not unify two other titles? It would definitely make the Intercontinental Championship, or whatever they end up moving forward with, most likely Intercontinental Championship. It would make that more important, and that's something that we've constantly criticized for like the last four years, that the U.S. Championship and the Intercontinental Champion were never used in a way that seemed appropriate for the prestige that both should have. Unification could do that. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't like the idea of necessarily of a unification. I mean, because, well, I guess it doesn't really freaking matter. Not with this one.
Yeah, it does. You can't have just two main belts in the company. You gotta have it. I mean,
God forbid we look at the '80s and see they only had two main belts in the company.
Yeah, and they didn't have nearly the amount of TV time that they do right now, the amount of travel time that they do right now, or the size of the roster that they do right now.
But how often are you saying? Are you looking, going, I can't wait to see who's going to be U.S. champion next?
Well, main event's got to have a main event, which is the U.S. Championship match. So.
No,
right, so I mean that's really it. It's not. It doesn't seem to be much of a stepping stone. It's just, hey, we need to put somebody on this show.
Yeah,
might as well unite it.
Yeah, I don't really like the fact that the WWE title and the World Heavyweight Championship are unified, because I think there are two tiers of top guys. On the top tier, you have Cena, Orton. You did have Punk. You might have a couple other guys that could legitimately be in there. But on that other tier, that World Heavyweight Championship tier, you got Sheamus, ADR, Ziggler, maybe Kofi Kingston. Maybe you could push that far. You got several other guys that fit in that slot. As far as the mid-card goes, IC title might have been ranked a little bit higher than the U.S. Championship, but there's a big gap between how the top titles were seen and the mid-card titles were seen. Having an IC title belt and a US title belt, that doesn't help anybody. It should. It really should be helping somebody. But the fact that nobody's using them well is, like Joe said, why not? What's the point in having two if you're not even going to push either well? You might as well just have one.
Yeah, the only way that I think that having these titles at this point will make them more relevant is if we go back to the brand split.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I mean, because then you had you had the championship, the world championship, and the U.S. title. So the U.S. title then functioned just like the Intercontinental Championship with the WWE title, or vice versa, whatever. But I mean, it was a mid-card title and a world title for both shows. Now it's, it's too much. I mean, maybe it'll raise the value if they're unified and there's only one mid-card title.
I mean, another solution could be that creative could do its job and book well for both, but I mean, since that's never going to happen.
Or we go back to the Attitude Era where we had the Light Heavyweight Championship, the European Championship,
Six-man tag championships.
The Skull Belt.
I don't want to interrupt the hipster one-upsmanship you two are having right now, but can we
Then
talk about the John Cena Orton Thornton thing, or do we got to keep going on about this?
The Orton Thornton thing? Orton Thornton? What did you just say?
You heard what I said.
Damn it, Dinosaur Lee.
I heard Orton Thornton as well. Cena Orton Thornton. All right. Well, I'm with you as far as.
Oh, that's like Jeff Layfield.
I think I'd be fine with it. I think it'd be fine if they unify the titles. I wouldn't want to see Sheamus do it.
No.
But if it had to be done, and Sheamus was your champion into SummerSlam or, Night of Champions, I think that's the pay-per-view right after SummerSlam. I could be wrong on that timeline, but I think it'd be fine. Going to 4 titles. Your WWE Championship, Intercontinental Championship, Divas Championship, and Tag Team Championships. I think that's fine. I think that's enough because Raw is your main show still. You can still do a lot with those 4 titles on Raw. Nothing will get lost. You won't have the US Championship pushed off to main event every week, and that's the only time you see it. Or you won't have Dean Ambrose going almost 365 days holding the title, even though he only defended it 4 times. I mean, I think this would be good. This would be a good move overall. But let's move on to the main event. John Cena defends against Orton, Kane, Roman Reigns, and Orton Thornton, I guess. So who you guys got? Who you guys got, Joe?
I'm going to go with Roman Reigns, only because I want to see something different, and I want to see the Authority still be pissed. John Cena, Superman, holding the title, we've seen it so many times before. We don't want to see it anymore. Orton is a possibility. Kane will not win the title. If anything, Kane will drag Orton and put him over Reigns or Cena or whatever. I foresee Kane having a great shot, and maybe the Authority coming down and saying, no, make Orton win, and then Kane gets pissed and then attacks Orton with enough distraction where Roman Reigns can then hit the spear and get the win. I don't know. I want to see Roman Reigns win the title because it's fresh, it's exciting, it's new, it's different than the path they've had, and that's what I think the WWE needs to do to keep my interest going forward. Something new.
Dinosaur Lee?
Yeah. The belt's not coming off of Cena. It's just not this soon, so I'm just going to write that down. Look, we all want Reigns to win it. I mean, as Joe pointed out, even the process of elimination, you want Reigns to win it. Even if you don't like Roman Reigns, you have to like the other options less. But they're not going to take it off of Cena just yet. They're not going to take it off anytime soon. So, yeah, I'm leaving it on Cena probably until SummerSlam, if not longer.
I think it's got to be Cena winning this match. It's a throwaway main event, and I don't see Reigns going over. The crowd is obviously behind him, and the WWE is obviously behind him right now. What happens when the WWE does the classic, give them the world and take it all away again? What does Reigns have going for him outside of the spear and Superman punch that puts him on the same level as John Cena? He doesn't have it. Yet. He doesn't have it yet. Right now, he's in the same boat that Ryback was in, where he just got pushed to the moon and beyond on the Well, Ryback got pushed on Cena's word, and Reigns got pushed because of the Shield. Even within the Shield, Reigns wasn't the workhorse of that team. He wasn't doing the work that propelled the Shield to where it was before it got broken up. That was Rollins and Ambrose. Reigns was just the face of it that the WWE pushed to the moon. I don't like the idea of Reigns being given the title only to crash and burn when the WWE decides to cut the legs out from under him. I think it's a better option for Cena to hold on to the title, and if he's going to drop it to anybody, it's going to be Lesnar at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like the idea of Roman Reigns stepping in. I think Roman Reigns does have that potential to be your top face in a year or so, but I'm not necessarily ready to see him take over as WWE champion just yet, especially with Brock Lesnar potentially being that first opponent. I don't want to see Lesnar lose. I want to see Lesnar hold the title. So for me, my scenario, John Cena wins, loses against Brock Lesnar. That makes total sense, and I think that's the direction they should go, and hopefully they do. So I'm with you. So yeah, overall, it seems like we're going to have potentially, just looking at this list, we're potentially going to have 3 title changes. Like every title is going to walk out with someone new. I'm sorry, except for John Cena. John Cena would retain, but Paige would win as far as the majority vote. Well, except for the no contest, whatever. Tag team championships would move over to the Wyatt family, and then obviously someone would walk out with the IC title. So overall, the initial feedback seemed like everyone was, as far as our listeners, everyone we talked to on Facebook, Twitter, G+, seems like a majority of people were down on this pay-per-view. Filler pay-per-view, we were a little bit more optimistic, but after tonight's conversation, are you still optimistic, or are you more along the lines that this is just another filler pay-per-view? Nick?
I'm excited for the event at large. I'm not excited for the main event. Like I said, it's a throwaway main event, and I was looking at it as a throwaway main event for a throwaway pay-per-view. But while that might apply to Battleground at large, it doesn't apply to this specific event. Excited for the tag team title match. I'm excited for the Divas match, the Battle Royal. Most of the matches have got me excited. So I'm a little more optimistic about this than I was going into the show.
I'd agree. I think after having this discussion, I am more excited. I am more excited about this entire pay-per-view. I might need to set a reminder to remind myself that yes, the pay-per-view's on. But yeah, no, I think it's going to be good, and I'm excited for it. And if I happen to miss it, there's always the WWE Network.
Dinosaur Lee?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's a throwaway pay-per-view in that there hasn't been a build to the pay-per-view. Like, it isn't like a SummerSlam or a WrestleMania where it's like, you know what, we're going to do this and we're going to settle our score at Battleground, or this is a feud that's very clearly building towards Battleground. I mean, that's what SummerSlam's for. So Battleground is the thing that leads to the thing. And for that reason, you can say it's a throwaway pay-per-view and that it's not really an end. But I can't think of a scenario where ever really was like an end. It was always something that built something great for SummerSlam. And in this, it's totally going to do it. Maybe not so much on the main event, but I don't know what's going to happen on the main event. Something interesting could happen. But between the Battle Royale, between AJ Lee and Paige, between Ambrose and Rollins, definitely Swagger and Rusev, there's a lot of ammo here. Wyatt family versus Usos. There's a lot of stuff here that the WWE can use to build a fantastic pay-per-view at SummerSlam. For that reason, I don't think you can say Battleground is a throwaway pay-per-view. It's just going to make SummerSlam better.
It's a good way to put it. It's going to make SummerSlam better. I agree with that. The live chat is running around the same idea. There, you know, the pay-per-view. I mean, just the card alone is good. The stories that they're building with it is good. And yeah, how SummerSlam currently looks is exciting. So I think overall, myself included, I am looking forward to Battleground. I think it's going to be like Judas is saying in the live chat, it is well worth the $10.
Good
yeah,
point.
exactly.
All right, so let's move on. We're going to do a little bit of quick hits here, something we haven't done in a while. But you guys have 30 seconds apiece. We're going to talk about a few different topics. So we'll start off with this one. 7-14-14. It came and went, and we saw what everyone predicted and expected, and that was Sting would be in WWE 2K15. So already Sting is selling merch in the shop. People are excited about the video game, but it goes a little bit beyond that. In interviews now, Sting is saying that he wants one more match, and he wants that match against Undertaker at WrestleMania 31. So do you guys want to see it, Joe?
No, do not want to see it. I was hoping for maybe a movie starring Sting as opposed to like Kane's May 19th, as opposed to being able to play Sting in a video game, because really you could just make Sting. It's not that hard. Just make him wear a T-shirt. I don't want to see Taker versus Sting. I don't want to see it. We wanted to see this 10 years ago, not now.
Nick?
Damn
Dinosaur
Google.
Lee? Oh, damn.
I probably would have had the same answer if the streak hadn't already been broken, but now that Taker streak is no more, I'm not placing as much expectation on that match as I might have otherwise. Now it's just a battle of the WWF's icon versus WCW's icon. And I'm entirely okay with that, especially since Sting is infinitely more capable of helping Taker along rather than injuring him than Lesnar was. So I think we could get a good match out of that. As far as the video game goes, I'm glad that the WWE is treating this property as it should be, on the same level as a Madden or another sports game, another big name sports game. It's refreshing to see that out of a company helmed by a bunch of old white guys.
Isn't that most companies, though?
It is.
Okay.
That's why it's so refreshing.
Oh, okay. That's a way of looking at it. I don't want to see this, you guys, because the last time this happened, the guy died. I don't want Sting to die.
I could take him really
Warrior died when this happened, and so now look, Warrior came back, got on the WWE 2K14. I mean, is this going to be like WWE's curse, where if you come back to be featured in the video game, and then
if you look at it though, Warrior was beating people up in an office. Somebody was going to get pissed. All Sting did was he walked around the rafters and came out when there was an orchestra playing, all painted up like fucking juggalos. So I think that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Dark point.
Fucking juggalos.
Wait until Sting is inducted in the Hall of Fame before you start making that.
Okay, if Sting gets inducted into the Hall of Fame and doesn't wrestle a match, then we all just kind of got to look at each other and go, okay, if it happens, this is a curse. Like we really have to reassess the situation. I don't know, Sting another match against Taker. Maybe not 10 years, but definitely 5. I think we were talking about it a few years ago. Sting coming back to face Taker. Sting to be the one to beat the streak. At this point, I don't know.
Remember when this was quick hits?
Oh shit! Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you guys overall. As far as not really wanting to see this match, I didn't want to see it last year. I didn't want to see it the year before, the year before, the year before. But the streak is over, so I think I'd be more open to it. But only a little bit more.
One side bit. I just don't want to see Taker again. I don't want to see him wrestle at WrestleMania again.
No.
For me, it's done.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. John Cena handed Ric Flair the World Heavyweight Championship as he walked out of the ring on this week's Raw. Many are speculating that was basically them dropping the two title bit. WWE.com now no longer has both titles listed on the roster page as far as where the championships are. So no one else has really acknowledged this as far as officially. So if they are dropping the World Heavyweight Championship, just going to the WWE title, do you think that was the best way to go about it? Having him drop it or hand it off to Ric Flair? Joe?
It works as well as pulling a title out of a trash can and then claiming yourself as the champion. I don't think that's maybe the best way. I think they should have just did it a little more quietly. And like you said, it wasn't televised. So it's okay.
It was televised. It was on Raw.
I must fast forwarded past that a little bit because, well, I had a lot of Raw to catch up on today. Then fuck. Might as well give Flair that and let him have Renee Young too, because he had his eye on that too.
Oh, jeez.
Nick?
I think it was a pretty good move. I don't know why they stuck with the two title bit in the first place. Since it was a unification means one belt. So why do you have the old belt? It never made sense. They needed to drop that for a while, and this is as good a way as any. It's especially nice in a symbolic fashion to give the man who held the most world title reigns, be they from different companies, that guy walks off with the World Heavyweight Championship. I think that's pretty nice.
Yeah, I'm with Nick with this one. Totally with Nick on this one. It's got a nice ending to it, and I don't think Cena only holding the WWE title is the worst thing in the world. So for me, yeah, this I'm totally with Nick, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it. I thought it would have been nice for them to bring in a new title, but they did just bring in a new WWE Championship, so it doesn't necessarily make sense for them to bring in a brand new championship to use as the overall combination of the two, and dropping it to Ric Flair. I mean, he was the first WCW champion. As Jared is saying in the live chat, I think it was very symbolic and almost poetic. So I'm very cool with that. And yeah, I'm glad though that they went to just one title. I think that makes the most sense. So okay, cool. Over the weekend, WWE toured Japan and in the process announced the signing of indie superstar Kenta. He's signed to a deal that will have him go to NXT. They were very clear in that. So do you guys think that WWE will keep him in NXT for an extended period of time to kind of mold him into a WWE superstar like they did with the Wyatt family, like they did with The Shield? Or do you think that they'll rush to get him up before the end of 2014 just to kind of take advantage of the name recognition? Joe?
I definitely think they're going to bring him up before the end of 2014. Yeah, they're going to bring him to NXT. They're going to get him worked up. Get him making sure that he's working to the hard cam. They're going to get him, if he speaks English, they're going to, better than me. They're going to, tune him up a little bit, get him working with some promos. They're going to run through him with the Performance Center hardcore here. And then I do think they're going to bring him to the main roster. It's too big. It's too big of a name to have him sit down there.
Nick?
I think he is going to be given an accelerated program in NXT because with the language surrounding the whole signing, they kept referring to him as Kenta, and that tells me they're bringing him in as is. They're not going to do what they did with Seth Rollins, with Dean Ambrose, with any of the other indie guys they brought in. They're not going to repackage him and give him a new gimmick. And I think that's telling because they're treating Kenta as they're not treating him as an indie guy. They're treating him as a guy from a promotion with as much history and prestige as the WWE, only in another company or another country rather. And I like that personally because it shows that the WWE has finally gotten over its fascination with giving Asian wrestlers stereotypes of comedy gimmicks. So overall, I think this is a really good move by the WWE, and he's not going to be spending a whole lot of time in NXT.
Indeed.
I see what you did there.
Dinosaur Lee.
I think he's going to be in NXT. He's not going to be jumped straight to WWE. He's going to make a name for himself in NXT. I think he's going to be kind of like, I think he'll make the same kind of splash as Rusev. You know, he would have that kind of push. Not so much a, wow, look at how this guy dominates in NXT or anything like that, or how he came up from NXT or anything. But I don't think he's going to have a rush for any reason. And if he'd be up before the end of 2014, it would be because that was always in the plan. I don't think it's going to be something that they want to rush him through. So, yeah, I think we're not going to see him before the end of 2014. I think we'll see him next year.
Okay. I am going to go out on a limb and say WWE is learning from their mistakes, and they're not going to rush a guy, especially an international guy, onto the scene without really vetting him in their system. You know, we've seen where that has failed.
Tensai.
No.
Yeah.
Tensai was a worker for WWE for a long time before he went to Japan. No, I'm talking about Sin Cara. Sin Cara is a perfect example of a superstar, an international superstar that they pushed onto the roster seemingly right away, and it proved bad. It proved a bad decision because he couldn't adapt well. I don't want to see the same issue with this guy. And as far as their system goes, you know, we've seen NXT prove to be a good starting base for guys, even guys who have been in the industry in a while. You know, you look at the guys from the Shield. You look at, you know, Luke Harper and Eric Rowan. That they benefited greatly from being in NXT. They weren't rushed up, even though they were solid and had good characters down there. They weren't rushed up into the main roster. Guys who have been rushed up and have failed. Another guy there is Adam Rose. Adam Rose, they gave him this new character and just pushed him up without really allowing him to develop it, and he's failing. So I think it would make the most sense for them to just hold off, relax. Everyone is excited. Everyone knows this guy is here. Let's wait until January to really see him move up.
I will say there is a key difference between Kenta and Sin Cara. Sin Cara is a luchador. Kenta, on the other hand, his work style is a lot more adaptable to what the WWE does. I mean, Punk and Bryan already stole his finishers, so if you can work his moveset into that easily, I mean, Kenta's not going to need as much time to adapt as Sin Cara would have. And for the last, I don't know, 10 years, he's been working in a company, Pro Wrestling Noah. There's a lot of mixing between Japanese and American wrestlers, or global wrestlers, European, what have you. So Kenta's already been exposed to a lot more of what you would see normally in the WWE. So I don't think he really needs that time in NXT that Sin Cara probably could have benefited from.
True. I mean, yeah, there are definitely differences, but still, I think they need to not rush this. All right, we're going to skip Ask FTW just because we're running kind of long on time. A lot of cool questions in Ask FTW. We're going to wait until next week to answer. So thank you, Radio Influence, Amandeep, Lou, and yeah. So great stuff coming up. So yeah, we'll talk about that next week. Right now, let's move on to win fail. Nick, your win of the week.
I think my win has to go to the Kenta signing. Like we said, it's a big signing for the WWE. They made a big deal out of it. We made a big deal out of it. We've been looking forward to it for a long time. And the fact that it looks like they're going to stick with what made Kenta such a big name in the first place, He's going to be keeping his name. He's probably going to be keeping his gimmick, such as it is. The fact that the WWE seems to be, by all signs, seems to be handling this right in a way that's not going to quote unquote ruin him. I think it's a very good sign for everybody involved.
Dinosaur Lee?
My win is the fact that Weird Al Yankovic is releasing a new music video every single day of the week this week, and he did one about grammar, was released today, and it was fantastic. That's my win.
It can't be any grammar slam though.
Watch it.
No, it's pretty phenomenal, but it's
amazing.
That your win has nothing to do with wrestling.
Hey, it's Dinosaur Lee.
It is Dinosaur Lee.
Dinosaur Lee doesn't play by your rules, Joe. Dinosaur Lee is a rebel.
Well, thank God Harrison's not here.
I know, right? Or else if Harrison was here, he'd have a perfect win. That would be apt, pithy, and I think would be exemplary and a good representative of the show. But Dinosaur Lee doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, Harrison's not here because he's at a Cleveland Bulldogs rally.
Dinosaur Lee thinks you're a jerk, Joe, and I'm sure Harrison would agree as well for mentioning the Bulldogs and how that's such a lame reason to change the name of. All
right.
Anyway, moving on.
Anyways, let's see. Wins from the live chat. We got Swagger and Zeb. Paige and AJ's conversation on commentary. The Kenta signing. I think my win of the week is the Battleground card. For reasons that we said before. You know, this card, this pay-per-view is going to make SummerSlam all the better. And I think that's a good move. You know, we could look at Battleground being a filler pay-per-view like we got with last year's Battleground, but this year I think they really took good steps.
Cool.
Joe, your win of the week?
My win of the week is actually you guys. I was coming into this discussion not excited about Battleground, you know, and you guys have turned me around on that. So I want to applaud you guys for being able to convince me that it's awesome. And I'm excited for it.
That's what we do.
That's how we do when we do what we do.
This is a support group. I mean, we have to support each other in this theory that wrestling is actually entertaining.
That we actually want to watch the product. Isn't that amazing?
Hey, in today's day and age, we've had a lot of people decide that they're going to quit watching. I mean, Nick stopped watching WWE for a while. Harrison tried to watch only TNA at one point and then had a stroke. It's something that needs to be done, and I'm glad you guys convinced me about this pay-per-view.
Very good. All right, fails of the week, Nick.
I don't necessarily really have any fails as far as WWE goes. It's been a pretty good week overall, I think. So no fails from me.
Dinosaur Lee.
Maybe Heyman dropping Cesaro. Otherwise, I'm with Nick on this one. It's been kind of solid on WWE's part. That's the only thing I could think of. And the only reason it's kind of a fail is because it kind of leaves Heyman. You know, where does Heyman go from here? Is he really gone from WWE? If so, that's a fail. Is Cesaro going to be able to recover and move on? If not, that's a fail. I don't know. I mean, I'm grasping at that point, but that obviously is not a good thing. It's not going to lead to bigger and better things for either of them. So, I guess I'm going to call that one my fail.
Joe, your fail of the week.
My fail of the week is the fact that we never realized that Vacant's first name is 20140630. If you go over to www.com/classic/title-history/intercontinental, looking at the history of the Intercontinental Championship, right now, 2014-0630 space Vacant is the current champion, and he apparently hails from Hartford, Connecticut. It's really amazing that Vacant he hails from Hartford. That's cool, and that he got the title at essentially the same date as his birthday actually reads. That's crazy. No, seriously, WWE, that adding the date, I appreciate the year, month, day format. You should really clip that out and just put vacant or Bad News Barrett in the other field that you're missing.
Is Vacant a Grand Slam champion yet?
Yes, I believe so.
Good for him.
I mean, if you scroll to the top, oh no, I guess it's NA. NA was
So,
the
should we just all accept the fact that Vacant has had a better push than 3/4 of the people in the Battle Royale for the IC title?
I
think
hear
it's completely
Vacant's
legitimate.
actually hanging out with not with 3MB, but 3 Minute Warning.
Boo. Nick, you have another fail to add?
Yes, I do. I actually forgot about it because it's from NXT, and we haven't talked about that. But I don't get the fascination that the WWE seems to have with Bull Dempsey. I think the description "last of a dying breed" is just such an overplayed card, and he doesn't really do anything to merit that moniker. He's just a fat dude in a singlet, just beating the shit out of people, and he doesn't even make that look good. I never knew what aggressively not caring looked like until I saw the crowd for that match. Nobody cares about the guy. Angelo Dawkins, the guy he faced this past week, people were cheering for him, and the WWE hasn't given him shit. They talk about Dawkins, about his collegiate record, how he's a 3-sport athlete, has accomplishments from all 3 of those fields, and he's arguably one of the top 5 pure athletes in the WWE right now. I mean, you watch this guy in the ring, he has got immense talent, but the WWE won't push him. If they give him a gimmick at all, it's this stupid hipster looking gimmick. It's ridiculous, and they don't even stick with that. But they're gonna push this guy Bull Dempsey, whose entrance just consists of people shouting "Bull, Bull, Bull." It's sad to watch, and I just don't get it.
Didn't Botch Spot recently do a comic on him or referencing him?
I haven't checked that yet.
I have. Let me go back. He might be in that. Okay, there's a few back. The Secrets of Wrestling Revealed, cracking the code, what announcers saying, what they actually mean. A real old school type of wrestler from a different era means he refuses to work out.
Yeah.
I can see that.
All right, so fails from the live chat. We've got Triple H and Steph's kiss on TV. It was just too awkward and too long. The lack of Ask FTW segment. I know, Lou. We'll get him in there next week. And then everything on commentary not involving AJ and Paige, and I'm gonna share that as my fail of the week, at least half of it. I am tired of really awful commentary. I'm also tired of really awful crowds. I find myself too into what the crowd is doing and not what is actually happening in the ring. Like when I think something is good happening, for some reason the crowd is always going on whatever they're doing. So AJ's in the ring and we got the CM Punk chants, like we've talked about for the last couple of weeks for sure. You know, you've also got the crowd just trying to take over and troll the show. In other aspects with the Jerry Lawler chant or the Michael Cole chant or whatever, and yeah, it's just I don't know. I find myself concentrating on the bad. It's hard. It's too hard to ignore at times. Both the bad commentary and the lack of quality storytelling from them, as well as the crowd interaction. So we're going to transition this into our final thoughts. My final thought of this week is I'm going to attempt to do something, and I don't know how I'm going to handle it for the pay-per-view. The pay-per-view is going to be hard, but I think moving forward, I'm going to take a week, probably starting with Raw, It's definitely a WWE thing. I'm gonna watch Impact as is without an issue, but with WWE programming, especially Raw, I'm gonna watch without the sound and see if it changes my opinion of what's going on.
Well, you're sure as hell not going to hear Moggle anymore.
That's a plus right there.
So I don't know. That's my final thought. I'm tired of complaining about that stuff. I want to ignore it, so I'm gonna turn the sound off on Raw and see what happens. See if I can still follow the story. See if I still am enjoying what I'm seeing in the ring, that sort of thing. I might turn on the sound like when there's an actual segment happening, but when it's just a match, I'm gonna turn off commentary and sound altogether. So that's it. Final thoughts from anyone else?
I think you're going to go insane. You're going to miss out on some of the Cole-isms and the JBL-isms, and you'll be good without King.
I think we're going to find that without King dragging Garvin down, he's going to come back and he's going to sound like an erudite Mensa member. His IQ will jump like 40 points, and we'll come back. And this is the potential that he would have reached years ago if the infectious stupidity that is King was not infecting him. Like me, I just use infection twice in the same sentence as both a verb and an adjective. So there you go.
Congratulations, Dinosaur Lee.
Because he just drinks it that he just
go
drinks
back
it that far
to
down.
the Fandango's theme, Dinosaur Lee.
Yeah, seriously. Okay, well, that's it. That's the show. You can go check out FTWpodcast.com for more information about us and how to get involved in the future, and join us live each and every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern on FTWLive.com. For myself, Joe, Nick, Dinosaur Lee, Harrison, and everyone in the live chat, we will see you next Tuesday. Goodbye.
Bitches.